Okay, and we are live. ¿Qué tal, amigos? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with yet another live stream, Monday evening, 7:35 p.m. Spain mainland time. And the usual live stream today, we'll go through some of the main stories that have caught my attention in the press today. We'll also go into the comment section and check out what has been happening there on videos recently. Lots of comments, lots of debate has been happening in the comment section. And then in the second half of today's live stream, we'll go into the chat section and check out what is happening there, see if the chat section is bubbling with activity. Now, before I begin, I'll just put the little support icons on the screen and say thank you to people for your support, for supporting the channel, whether it's through Super Thanks or Super Chat, buying me a coffee, or through the Patreon. I appreciate viewer support. Also, if you haven't hit the like icon yet, please do so. Just below the video down there, you'll see the like icon. So if you can do me a favor and smash the like icon, we'll see if we can get up to a decent tally of likes today. So whether you're like number 19, 20, 21, 22, hit the like button, please. As you guys know, it keeps me motivated. Now, straight into the news, and big news for Spanish golf. Another Spanish golfer has won the US Masters, this time John Ram. And as we can see here, Spain's John Ram pays tribute to Seve Ballesteros after Masters win. Spain's John Ram has won the 87th Masters at Augusta National. 40 years after the late Seve Ballesteros won his second Masters title, and on what would have been his 66th birthday, Ram became the fourth Spanish winner at Augusta National after Ballesteros, Jose Maria Olazabal, and Sergio Garcia. The 2021 US Open champion carded a closing 69 to finish 12 under par, 4 shots clear of Phil Mickelson and longtime leader Brooks Koepka. History of the game is a big part of why I play, and one of the reasons why I play. And Seve, being one of them, said Ram, whose father took up golf after watching Ballesteros captain Europe to victory in the 1997 Ryder Cup at Valderrama in Spain, of course, that golf course. So, Spain's John Ram, as we can see there, the fourth Spaniard to win the Masters Championship, one of the most difficult tournaments to win, I think. And Mr. Koepka, Brooks Koepka, losing his lead, I think, in the third round, a bad third round. But interesting to see that a couple of live golfers there, the breakaway tournament, the live tournament in the top 5. So challenging the traditional golfing powers, if you like. But Mr. Ram, his second major. Good to see. Now, second piece of news today, this one here. Spain's record drug trial, 157 defendants, 2,000 years in jail being asked for, and $16 billion in fines. From Monday, the Los Castaña clan will be the protagonists of the first macro case against drug trafficking in the Campo de Gibraltar region. 157 people will sit in the dock to answer for crimes against public health, belonging to a criminal group, smuggling, possession of weapons, attacking a police officer, and receiving. The public prosecutor's office is asking for a total of 2,000 years in prison and more than 16 billion euros in fines in a trial with a certain air of revenge after the surprising sentence handed down by the Provincial Court of Cádiz, which exonerated 16 members of the notorious criminal organisation. The origin of this trial lies in Operation Dismantle, an investigation by the Guardia Civil that began in early 2020 and led to the seizure of almost 11 tons of hashish. A total of 157 people were arrested as a result of a dozen drug trafficking operations carried out between the 1st of February and the 27th of August of that year. So 157 people on trial down there in the south of Spain for drug trafficking, hashish mainly in the Campo de Gibraltar, the area that surrounds the Rock of Gibraltar, places like Algeciras, La Línea de Concepción, and this group, as we saw, Los Castaños, notorious in that part of the world for their violent tactics and huge drug trafficking operation, allegedly, which the Guardia Civil has put an end to, and trying to get these people in prison after they were exonerated, as we saw there earlier, late last year, in another trial down there in that part of the world. But anybody who lives in that part of Spain knows that drug trafficking for many people, especially hashish that comes in from Morocco in boats, very fast boats that cross that strait of the sea down there and get washed up onto the shore, and people come and pick them up. And obviously Los Castaño, the people who are allegedly behind this drug organization. So we'll see what happens, whether they end up in prison this time around or whether they are let off again. And they've been in the press a lot over the last 5 or 6 years, especially because of a very bold, how would I put this, release. Let's say one of the men was arrested, taken to a hospital, and the rest of the clan decided to use very violent tactics to get that person away from the civil guard on that particular occasion. So they have proved slippery characters up until now. Third piece of news, this one here related to the British driving licence saga. And Jersey, apparently, has been left out in the cold in Spain driving licence deal. The euphoria after the announcement that Spain would finally accept UK driving licences has fallen on deaf ears because the deal is not valid in Crown dependencies such as the Channel Islands. Jersey licenses are not legal in Spain, and we cannot exchange them for a Spanish one without taking theory and practical tests, said Kurt Cameron, who lives in Murcia and recently wrote to the Jersey Evening Post to raise the issue. Tristan Dodd, the government's head of transport, told the newspaper, although Jersey accepts licenses from many EU and EEA jurisdictions, this is not always reciprocated. It is appreciated that this is a frustrating situation, but work is continuing with the support of the UK government and colleagues in our external relations team to include Jersey and other Crown dependencies in the agreement. So there we go. Jersey left out in the cold, as is the other Channel Island, I imagine Guernsey, and also the Isle of Man. I read also that they are too left out of this agreement. So people that have those driver's licenses can't exchange them for a Spanish one, like the rest of the British population now in Spain, with that agreement finally being given the okay, I think around 3 weeks ago, and people have 6 months, or they're being told to exchange those licenses as quickly as possible. And the last piece of news today, the former Spanish monarch Juan Carlos I is to visit Spain again next week. Juan Carlos I will travel to Spain for the second time since his departure to Abu Dhabi on the 3rd of August 2020. According to sources in his entourage, the emeritus king plans to travel again to San Xenxo, Pontevedra, to meet up with his regatta friends as he did in 2022. However, he will first visit London, where Charles III has invited him to a private lunch prior to his coronation in May. Don Juan Carlos plans to arrive in San Xenxo on the 19th and return to Abu Dhabi on the Sunday, the 23rd, at the end of the Spanish Cup Regatta in the 6-metre class organised by the yacht club in the town of Pontevedra, in which his boat, the Bribón, is taking part. So Spain's former king, emeritus king, Juan Carlos I, who, as we know, lives in Abu Dhabi currently with his grandchild, I think, Froilán, who has recently been sent there to avoid troubles in Madrid, because young Froilán was constantly getting into trouble in Madrid, so his mother decided to send him to Abu Dhabi with his grandfather, and Juan Carlos I coming back to Spain for only the second time since he left in 2020 for various reasons, but mainly related to problems with the Spanish tax authorities. But I think all of those problems have since been put under the carpet again, and I don't think he is wanted by the Spanish Hacienda anymore, or at least I don't think so. So he's able to come back to Spain a free man, but I don't think he trusts the political situation. He's going to wait for calmer times politically before he comes back for good, if he ever comes back for good, considering his age. Now, I'm going to put the like icon on the screen again. If you haven't hit it yet, please do so just below. We're up to 64, so maybe you'll be number 65, 66, or 67 if you hit that like button, please. Now, we'll go into the comment section, check out what is happening there. Lots of comment left on videos recently. This one here from Brian. My preference is an Aussie red. Don't see it in Spain. Talking about wine, obviously, is Brian. He likes an Aussie red from time to time. having trouble finding them in Spain. And it is true that it is not easy to find Australian wine in Spain. Not easy to find Portuguese wine in Spain. Not easy to find any type of wine that is not Spanish in Spain, basically, especially in supermarkets. If you go to a specialist wine shop, you can find Aussie wines, Argentinian wines, Chilean wines, South African, French, of course, all of the wine areas around the world, United States wines too. But normal supermarkets will mainly stock Spanish wine. You might get the odd Australian one, normally a cheap bottle of something, and the same would be for other wine variations from around the world. But, as Brian points out, not easy to buy Australian red here. But then again, why would you if you can drink all of the Spanish wine in the world that you want to drink? And in my opinion, it's fairly good quality. It's fairly good quality if you're willing to pay the price for it. But then again, Australian wine is not cheap either, so probably Spanish wine is the better deal. But Brian has his preferences, as we saw there. Australian. Now, another comment here from Mark F. Britain has had this housing crisis for 40 years. The government does nothing. However, the population also does nothing. Some French-style rioting is needed. French-style rioting, as we have seen over the last couple of weeks in France, in big cities like Paris. People are not happy about changes that Mr. Macron wants to make to the pension system, and people taking to the streets with their usual gusto, if you like, which is typical in France, I think. When people are not happy with a political decision, they take to the streets. Unlike in other countries, here in Spain, it's mainly only the left side of politics that takes to the streets. They take to the streets about anything, basically. But when it comes to important issues, a lot of the times people don't take to the streets, and I get the impression from that comment there from Mark that that also happens in the UK, given that there is a housing crisis, according to Mark there, and there has been a housing crisis in the UK for the last 40 years. This comment comes on the back of something that I mentioned the other day about housing crisis or crises in Lisbon, Portugal, other Portuguese cities, and also in Spain, in Malaga, Balearic Islands, popular tourist destinations where local residents are outnumbered by tourists in residential buildings nowadays with the Airbnb phenomenon and things like that. One Malaga resident complained that in their building, out of 12 apartments, only 3 were long-term residents and 9 were short-term rentals. And of course, people coming through constantly, parties, late nights, obviously enjoying the Malaga lifestyle and not taking into consideration that there are permanent residents living in the building that would like a little bit of privacy probably, and I think that's the issue, and also difficult for young people to get into the property market, hence the housing crisis or the social problems that that's creating in cities like Lisbon and Porto in Portugal. But thanks, Mark, for your input there. Another comment here from Paul. Surely it's the responsibility of people not dropping litter and not the responsibility of councils picking it up. Now, this is also related to the same video where I went for a walk and the ground was full of rubbish. Not unusual in some parts where I live here, especially in areas that are a little bit rough, let's say, bush areas. The rubbish seems to accumulate there. Nobody bothers to pick it up. In fact, I know a guy here that had a campaign last year or maybe the year before where he went around, got some locals together, went around and picked up rubbish, like volunteering to pick up rubbish because the local council doesn't pick it up. And the question posed there by Paul, isn't it the responsibility of people not to drop litter? Well, in a perfect world that would be, or in a perfect situation that would be, absolutely, Paul. But unfortunately here I do see a lot of litter on the ground. I think you become immune to it as you do graffiti over the years, when you start to see graffiti on every wall and rubbish all over the ground in some places. You become immune to it, but it does stand out when you go to places that are a little bit cleaner and people do actually take care of their rubbish. And if rubbish does accumulate because it gets blown into one of those areas, which is what happened the other day, the local council will come around and pick it up, which I think they are paid to do. But that's just my opinion. Paul has another opinion, but let us know what you think. whose responsibility is it? Is it the person's responsibility not to drop the litter in the first place? Or if litter is dropped, should the local council pick it up? And my biggest problem with rubbish here relates to the famous botellón, where young people go out at the weekend, mainly young people, maybe not so young people, but they drink, they get drunk, they eat McDonald's or Burger King, and then they just leave everything where they were. They don't bother putting it in bins, and a lot of this rubbish blows away when the wind picks up and ends up in places that where I was the other day. And you only have to go to any outside terraced area where people sit drinking and having tapas, and you look at the ground and it's just full of cigarette butts to know that people don't really give two hoots about rubbish a lot of the time. But that's just my opinion. Another comment here from Etienne. In my opinion, when learning another language as an adult, being understandable is all that matters. One should be commended for making an effort to learn another language and not derided for poor pronunciation. Thank you for your wonderful videos. Yeah, again, this question about pronunciation, whether it has to be 100% correct or not, I don't think so. Make yourself understood. Absolutely, I agree with this comment 100%. The idea is to get your message across. If you don't pronounce every word correctly, so be it. Make an effort, of course, and try to pronounce every word as best you can. But when you teach English and you realize how students struggle with English pronunciation, Spanish is fairly easy compared to English. Spanish being a phonetic language, every vowel and every letter in the alphabet has a very similar, has a sound, and it's very easy to emulate those sounds, whereas in English, not being a phonetic language, it is difficult. I used the example last week of the Scottish city Edinburgh. Everybody here in Spain that I've ever taught English to pronounces that word wrong because they don't understand that the end of that word, Edinburgh, the B-R-U-G-H, I think it is pronounced like that, and not Berg, which would be the logical way to pronounce it, I suppose, like the famous singer back in the 80s, Chris de Burgh. Don't know whether it's the same, but that's my example. Another comment here from Cynthia. Same in Cornwall, UK, for wealthy house buyers and landlords taking houses off for short term. And this is the problem that Spain has experienced the last 3 or 4 years, or maybe even longer now. People taking long-term rentals off the market, turning them into short-term rental markets, and therefore leading to a housing crisis, and happening all around the world. It's not unique to Spain. Somebody said that the other day. This problem's everywhere. Yeah, but here I speak about Spain, mate. That's why I speak about that topic in a Spanish context. Thanks for the input. Another one here from Tom. Except that the traffic is awful, talking about Tenerife, and it being almost impossible to park your car. Apart from that, it's great life down there. Yeah, absolutely. But again, when you come from mainland Spain, and every city in mainland Spain has problems parking, nothing unusual there. When you get to the Canary Islands and realize that it's just the same as here, we don't really batter an eyelid, I don't think, because where I live, well, out in the street here, it's not difficult to park, but go into the center of Madrid, try to find a parking spot, good luck some days, and other Spanish cities as well. I don't think there's a Spanish city that doesn't, in the central parts of the city, I don't think there's a place that doesn't have a parking problem, because parking spots are limited, and exactly the same on the island of Tenerife. But as that commenter points out there, Tom, the weather is great. Apart from that, everything else is great, and the traffic also. But again, living in Madrid, the traffic's bad every day, so nothing unusual. And the final comment, that's it. So there we go. Lively comment section today. Now I'm going to go into the chat section in just a minute. Before I do, I'm going to change the backdrop. And this picture was sent in from Margaret, and it's a picture of somewhere in Murcia, obviously when those trees were in blossom, maybe last month, because when I went to Murcia, maybe back in February, was it? I did see a lot of trees that looked like this in flower. And of course, a nice, what's that, an inland lake area down there, somewhere in Murcia. Not sure exactly where it is. Margaret didn't say, but it is Murcia. So thanks for sending that one in, Margaret. And if you've got a similar picture, the email address is this one here, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Feel free, send them through, and provided it is the right dimension to get on the backdrop, landscape is the way to go, and also a clear image as well. As we can see here, a lot of detail in this photo, so thanks, Margaret, for sending that one through. Now, I'm just going to put the little like icon back on the screen again. If you haven't hit the like icon yet, please do so. 109 likes. Maybe you will be number 110 if you hit that like button now, just below the video, whether you are on Facebook or whether you are on YouTube watching the live stream today. Now, into the chat section, it is time to go in there and see what's happening. Let's have a look. I'll just scroll up to the top. Bit of activity today. Let's see if I can get to the beginning here. Andrew, first one in. Good evening, Stuart, and all from a wet London southeast. So the bad weather back to that part of the world. I remember it was good last week. Andrew was in his garden doing some gardening, but back to rain. So a bit hit and miss the weather in the UK currently. Barbara coming in from a sunny Playa Flamenca, and I imagine now, Barbara, there's going to be good weather from now on, unless we get a little bit of rain, which some people are hoping for, of course. Babs coming in from Wales. Haven't seen Babs for a while. Hail earlier now, sunshine. So 4 seasons in one day there. Richard also coming in, practicing his Spanish. Hola a todos. Espero que todos estén bien o estéis bien. Saludos desde Yorkshire del Norte. There we go. Richard practicing his Spanish for the time in Malaga. LOL. That's right, Richard. Always a good idea to practice that Spanish, even if you have limited interaction with the locals. It is appreciated when you do, when you are able to speak a little bit of the language, or at least that has been my experience over the time. What else? Daryl coming in. Been kind of windy in Barcelona, but still no rain. The people in Barcelona desperate for some rain there, heading for drought conditions, if not drought conditions already. Jose Antonio coming in from the royal city, which is Ciudad Real, down there in the center of Spain, in the cheese making area of Castilla-La Mancha. Very good cheese in Ciudad Real. A little bit expensive nowadays, but tasty nonetheless. Daryl saying that it normally rains for Easter. Yeah, but it didn't this year. So an unusual year in that sense. But you're right. Normally it does rain. A lot of the the processions around Spain get rained out. What do we got going on? Jonathan's in the chat section as well. I saw earlier. Can't find that. Here we are. Saludos desde Uruguay. Jonathan, hope all is well down there in South America. Stephen coming in from Enfield, North London. Looking forward to this evening's report. Hello, Stephen. Hope all is well. Wayne's also here saying, yo. Janet coming in from a windy Oxford. Again, a bit hit and miss and in that part of the world there, Janet. Not sunny like Sevilla. 123 Sean away coming in from Ireland. William also here. First to like. Yes. So William gave the first like today. We're up to our number 121 now. So thanks for hitting that like button. Always appreciated. Erica's in the chat section as well. I've got one of Erica's photos coming up shortly. Erica's saying the last day of the holidays, tomorrow back to work, and those awful timetables, which means we'll only be able to join everyone at the weekend. Obviously working evenings teaching English is Erica. But as we know, Erica, close to retirement. Only a couple of years, Erica. And I hope you enjoyed that cake that you showed us yesterday. It looked nice. I hope it tasted as nice as it looked. Alan coming in from a sunny southeast London on Easter Monday. So raining, someone else said it's raining and sunny there. So a bit confusing for me. Maurice is coming in also, just giving a smiley emoji. Wayne saying bubble bloop bloop, so we'll get rid of that. Caroline coming in as well, evening from Torremolinos. Gino and Isabella may be coming in from a sunny Toronto, hoping all is well. Pat coming in from Galicia, ¿qué tal? Good morning, Portugal. ¿Qué tal, amigo? Muy bien, Carl. Hope you are going well. Carl runs a channel there in Portugal called Good Morning Portugal, which has some interesting information on people that are interested in that country. So check Carl's channel out. Carl and family, of course. Ted also coming in today with from Newport, Rhode Island, almost sailing weather, asking people for likes. 128 now, so we're getting there. We'll see if we can get up to a decent tally today. Marianne Ask coming in from San Diego, California, where it's drying out from all of the storms this year, so it's been wet there. The opposite here, Marianne. Philip coming in from a pleasant Sussex. But it's been a very wet bank holiday Monday here on the coast, but that's pretty normal for the UK. Yes, I imagine that it is. But again, if you want a green country, you have to put up with the rain. If you want a brown country, come to Spain. Or at least where I am in Spain. It's very, very brown. The little bit of green that we had didn't last long. Now it's dried up and very, very dry and dusty. Jay coming in from Peñíscola. Do I have any comments about the severe drought that Spain is currently in? Well, I talk about this a little bit every day, Jay, the drought in some parts of the country that haven't got any rain for a long time. Here in Madrid, we got a bit of rain late last year, I believe, which helped the situation a little bit. And there was a little bit of snow on the mountains earlier as well, so I'm sure that that's gone into the dams now. But some parts of the country very, very dry and looking for drought conditions. Looking to have drought conditions, I think, later this year, especially if it doesn't rain in the rainy period, which is coming up. Remember the expression, Jay, en abril aguas mil, which means that there will be 1,000 rains in April, but it's the 10th today, and it's still not here. So we'll wait and see. Alan coming in from Belez, Malaga. Pleasant down there, I imagine so, Alan. I think Malaga is one of the areas where it is a little bit dry currently. Jayop coming in from Wisconsin, United States. Hasn't been able to join live lately. Glad to be here and also be glad to be firmly in spring. 72 degrees Fahrenheit, 22 Celsius, and mostly sunny. Yeah, again here today, the weather very good. If you like sunny, dry weather, around 27, 28 degrees Celsius today in Spain's capital, Madrid. Oscar coming in from Houston, Texas. Remy with a Y coming in from cloudy but warm Saint Feliu. Long weekend finished, back to normal. Heidi coming in from Madrid today. Was in Avila yesterday, was Heidi. No traffic jam. Got to be a first. My brother was stuck for hours coming back from Santander. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Absolutely, Heidi. If you live in a big city like Madrid, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose with the traffic. But when you've got 5 or 6 million people leaving and coming back at the same time, then traffic jams are inevitable, unfortunately. If you live in a small city, you don't have to worry about that. But Madrid, it's just part of the day-to-day. It's the tax that you pay to live in the capital. US correspondent Dave coming in from Florida. Hola, amigos. Practicing his Spanish also is Dave. Dave's got a comment here. Spain should decriminalise cannabis. Well, it probably would stop the illegal market, of course, Dave, if that happened. Fairly obvious, that statement. But, yeah, no plans about it yet. A couple of political parties are trying to decriminalise it or even legalise, I think. A couple of parties on the left side of politics, but they don't get any support from the other big parties. Socialist Party's not interested. The Partido Popular is not interested, Dave. Vox is not interested, obviously. Only a few minority parties on the left, but they try every year to get it passed through Parliament, but it doesn't get through. What else you got going on here? Ola from Florida. Kurt coming in also. Hope everyone had a great Easter. 28 degrees Celsius and as muggy as it gets. High humidity in that part of the world. Ross, the former New Yorker or New York Stater, coming in from Valencia. Enjoyed the first Easter Monday. Beautiful kites down there in that part of the world, says Ross. Hope you enjoyed, Ross. Rory coming in from Palma de Mallorca in Mallorca. Daryl saying, get a Spanish license to those people from Jersey or Guernsey who are complaining. Must be about 35 people affected, if that. Not sure on the exact figures, Daryl, how many people from those islands live down here in Spain, but it is a bit of an inconvenience considering that all of the other, the other main UK licenses are recognised, but not those particular ones. It must be frustrating. I imagine they thought that they were going to be included. I imagine that's part of the surprise. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Pamela saying, hope you had a good weekend. Getting warmer in San Juan de los Terreros. Showman Bailey, good evening and feliz lunes de Pascua from Bronny in a sunny but cold and windy Swansea in the UK, South Wales. What else we got going on here? Heidi coming in from, we just saw Heidi there, saying that we can find the odd French or Aussie bottle, yet to find Portuguese. Yeah, normally the Aussie in Carrefour is pretty bad. They have like the typical export Aussie wine, which I wouldn't recommend personally. But if you're desperate for Australian wine, perhaps it would satisfy that your needs for the time. And I think French is probably similar. I'm not sure because here in a wine producing country, Spanish wine dominates supermarket shelves, and as Heidi points out, you can find some international wines, but not a great selection. And Portuguese wine, again, difficult. But then again, in Portugal, it's hard to find Spanish wine. So there's obviously something going on there between those two wine industries. They try to not stock each other's wines deliberately, I suppose. John saying Airbnb is killing the CDS. Airbnb is creating a lot of issues around the place because it's very, very difficult to regulate. I think that's one of the main issues. If they could regulate it and try to especially regulate the new ones that are opening constantly. I think that's the problem. They have trouble keeping up with with all of the new ones that are opening up. So whenever they shut one down, a new one opens up fairly quickly. Such is the power of the internet. Rosa doesn't understand the question here, the one that was asked before, that comment that was asked before, that houses are not being built. In my area, we have thousands being built, taking over greenbelt land. There we go. So disagreeing with the comment that we saw before. Dave confirming that the weather's great in Florida, at least where Dave is also. Sunny 27. Humidity, Dave, there? Let us know. What else we got going on here? Daryl saying that football distracts the masses from the problems. This is why the UK government ordered a white paper, as they are worried the folk will no longer like football and show interest in politics, etc. Yeah, well, it's been said, isn't it, that it is the opium of the people nowadays. Football, European football that is, and all football in general, I think, does take people's attention away from regular things. And of course, people are more interested in their local football team than in politics, which, as Darragh points out, for some politicians might be a good thing. Alan, just going to open a Campo Viejo Tempranillo. Will raise a glass for me. Thank you very much, Alan, for that one. Campo Viejo Tempranillo. I think it's a supermarket wine also. John saying, keep them drunk and stupid and watching sports on Sky. Yeah, that's, again, related to Daryl's comment before. What else we got going on here? Patricia coming in from Tenerife. We have a positive army of lady street cleaners. Our town is spotless. There we go. So they're keeping it clean down there in the Canaries. Unfortunately, where I am, that is not the case. You've got rubbish lying around, rubbish that gets blown to different parts of the area where I am. You've also got dog droppings all over the walking areas and some footpaths as well. People don't pick up after their dogs. So litter and rubbish, a general problem. Is it getting better? Is it getting better now? I don't know. I don't know. I remember about 15 or 16 years ago, I was in Madrid walking down the street, minding my own business, was going to go into a supermarket, and the security guard of the supermarket was standing out the front drinking a can of Coke. And when he finished the can of Coke, he threw it into the base of a tree. You know, in the cities, you've got like a little square where the tree grows out of the concrete. And he threw the can into that area of the tree, and I thought, well, that's not very nice. I'll say something to him. So I said something to him. I said, but aren't you going to put that into a bin? You've got a bin right next to you. And he told me where to go. But when I came out of the supermarket, he had picked the can up and put it into the bin, and he asked me if I was happy. And I said, well, of course, but it's the logical thing to do. Put your can of Coke when you finish with it in the bin, right? Don't throw it on the ground. But anyway, that was about 15 years ago, so don't know whether the same thing happens, but judging from some of the rubbish that I do see lying around, especially after the Botellón, people just don't give a rat's. They just don't care. What else we got going on? Let's have a look. Americans also invariably pronounce it Edinburgh. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's where the Spanish get it from, I'm not sure, but I've always been told it's Edinburgh. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look. Renan coming in from Los Angeles. Send a picture of a trip from Mijas. Thank you very much, Renan, for that. I don't know if you have sent it yet or not. Maybe it was one of those ones that just came through on my phone. My phone has been buzzing away there next to me. What else we got going on here? Well, we're up to minute number 36, so I'm going to change the backdrop. Erica sent this one through. Erica's who's also in the chat section. On holidays recently in a place called Peñafiel. And apparently this is the view from the castle of Peñafiel. Now I'll get out of the way because I'm blocking the castle. But there's the castle. And that's the view that you get from up on top of the hill where the castle is. And most castles, of course, are built on the tops of hills. And this is in the province of Valladolid, in the north of Spain, about 2.5 hours north of Madrid, I would say. A nice scenic route to drive along there through that wine area, the Ribera del Duero wine area, and Peñafiel being one of the most prominent wine towns, I would say, in Spain. So thanks, Erica, for sending this one through on your recent holidays there. And the email address is this one here, spainspeaks@gmail.com. Send them through, and I'll eventually get around to putting them on the backdrop here. What have we got here? Alan talking about some different place names in England. Worcester, Gloucester, Leicester, Bicester, I think. Don't know that one. Welsh place names. Don't even go there. Don't even go there. Well, unless it's Swansea, you should be all right. But some of the rest of them, forget about it. Patricia doesn't agree about parking in Tenerife. Municipal car parks and bus stations cheap or free. Transport is luxurious and cheap, so cannot park just where you want to. Too bad. Yeah, that's the issue that somebody had before, saying that traffic jams and parking weren't great in that part of the Canary Islands. Patricia disagreeing there. So having some local knowledge on where to park, of course. But it is a characteristic of Patricia that people like to park as close as they possibly can to their destination. And sometimes you see people driving around blocks for a long time trying to park as close as they can so that they don't have to walk. Not my philosophy, but the philosophy of a lot of people that I know. What else you got going on here? Sean coming in also. Heading to Murcia at the end of April. Not playing golf. Thanks for the video on the city. No worries, Sean. Hope you enjoy Murcia. Not going to play golf in that part of the world. Is it a popular golf area, Murcia? Don't know. I know they have water problems down there. So unless they're watering the golf courses with with water that's been, taken from the sea and the salt removed. I don't know where they would get the water from for the golf courses, but I suppose wherever tourists or foreign residents come to live, golf courses are fairly common. Not necessarily for the locals, but for foreign people that come down here and like to play golf. The same in Portugal as well. You see some very luxurious golf courses, but not too many Portuguese license plates parked out the front. Mostly people on holidays specifically to play golf. Don't get me wrong, I like golf, but here in Madrid I don't play. Manuel reporting from Valencia. What region makes your favourite paella? What's the favourite style? Well, there's only one place that makes paella, I think, Manuel, and that would be Valencia. The rest, I think, they're just rice dishes, are they not? The only authentic paella comes from Valencia, I believe, or at least that's what people from Valencia have told me. The rest is just the rice dish. Grant coming in from a sunny Sierra. Hope those fires are under control there, Grant. I think they are from what I read. Marisol is a native New Yorker living in Madrid, enjoying the videos. Thank you very much, Marisol, for that. Erica did enjoy the cake. 2 slices went off to France. Sani coming in, heading back to a wet and windy Basingstoke on Wednesday. Holiday in Spain coming to an end. Stephen coming in from Barcelona. What else we got going on here? Quickly. Fantastic weather in Menorca today, according to Mark. Great to see. London weather not too bad, according to John. Juan saying, en mayo no te quites el sayo. That's another expression. En abril aguas mil, y en mayo no te quites el sayo, meaning that the weather can still be a little bit chilly in May. John saying that John Ram did Spain proud yesterday by winning the Masters. Yeah, absolutely. Although he flies a little bit under the radar here, Dave, because golf is not a hugely popular sport with the majority of Spaniards, I would say. Although he was on the front pages, but a lot of people wouldn't even know who John Ram is. Different story when it comes to Seve Ballesteros, of course, because he really put golf on the map here in Spain, or Olazabal, or even Sergio Garcia. But and a few other golfers as well that have been quite successful. But golf not really a sport of the people here, I would say. Not really a sport of the people. It's very associated with tourists and business people, I think, that like to join local golf courses. That's just my opinion, or at least in Madrid, I would say that's the case. Casa Solana coming in from Almuñeca, 32 degrees, steaming for April. Absolutely. Down there in the Costa Tropical, Lorry. Not humid in Tampa, according to Dave. Blind Spots traveller coming in from Madrid. Been spotting planes at Barajas. Interesting. Plane spotting at Barajas. Rory in Mallorca saying that in his building there, strictly no short-term lets, but every holiday period there are new faces in the lobby. So something's happening. Exactly right. The illegal ones. Absolutely, Rory. I think that's one of the big problems. Graffiti's a problem too, says Stephen. Absolutely. But as I said, 10 or so minutes ago, I think you become immune to it after a while, Stephen. You just see it everywhere. You just don't see it anymore. Basically, it's not something that stands out as it might do to somebody coming here for the first time from a place where graffiti is not so prominent. Bram saying that got a Spanish flag signed by Miguel Angel Jimenez, another Spanish golfer from Malaga. At the BMW Open a few years ago, he was smoking a cigar and had his arm resting on a young lady's shoulder. We need more Spanish characters like that. Yeah, he was. He did like to smoke cigars on the golf course. I remember that was one of his characteristics, and he also used to have long red curly hair as well. It was he was a bit out there, old Miguel Angel Jimenez, but a very good golfer nonetheless. Don't think he ever had any success at a major level. Don't think he ever won one of the majors, but again, I could be wrong. But I don't think so. What else we got going on here? Let's have a look here quickly. According to Tom, traffic and parking in Tenerife is a big problem. The reason why he won't go back there. There we go. But Patricia gave us some tips earlier. Whatever is what river? The Tajo River. The water for golf in Murcia comes from other dry regions. Yeah, probably that's the case, Jose Antonio. The water for the golf courses down there. Heidi wants me to explain the word golfo. I often make people laugh when I say that in English, a person who plays golf is called a golfer. And golfo is obviously the male version of that word, but I'll let somebody else explain it, Heidi. But golfo and golfer are just let's say that they're words that you wouldn't like to be called. If a Spanish person calls you a golfo, or if a Spanish person calls you a golfer, doesn't mean that you like to play golf. I'll put it that way. Guy coming in from a sunny day in Montreal, Canada. Golfo is golf, but also dishonest. Okay, there we go. A dishonest person, a golfo. Golf is more expensive in Tenerife than Florida, according to Patricia. Julie coming in from Bolton, and Jose Antonio likes the caldero in Murcia the most, type of rice dish. Now, I've come to the end of the chat. It took me a while to get through it, but I got through it nonetheless. Now, I'm going to wrap the live stream up there. I'll be back again tomorrow with another live stream. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks for participating in the chat. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for hitting that like button. We got up to 169, which I'm happy with. And as I said, I'll be back tomorrow. Hasta luego. Hasta entonces. Adiós.